the Esports World Cup. Firouzja needs to win on command with the black pieces in order for this set to go to Armageddon. Very possible, but let's see how this pans out.
Magnus Carlsen, whenever he's happy with a draw with white, he opens with his king's pawn. It's just a fact, he knows his openings. It's so difficult to create winning chances with black. He tries the Sicilian Alireza Firouzja. He's met with the Alapin, the C3 Sicilian. This is something Magnus has used on multiple occasions, including in the World Cup final against Prague, when he just needed a draw with white. Firouzja, he needs something special now.
And David, I know that the Alapin Sicilian is also one of your pet openings, something that you've employed so many times. Magnus Carlsen does it every time that he needs to shut down the game. Where do you think, approaching this as blacks, with the black pieces, will Alireza find his chances? What are the plans that he needs to put into place here?
Yeah, I think steering away from some of the main lines is the key. There are a lot of forcing lines in this opening. That's why Magnus has gone for it. There's a lot of opening theory that leads to sterile equality, where you don't really get out into this game. You don't really maintain any winning chances. Okay, I was going to say, play something offbeat. Pawn to b6, we see the eval bar rise. That is very offbeat. Doesn't fight for the center, but I totally understand the reasoning for it.
I was going to ask you, when you would play the Alapin, was there a move by black that you feared that perhaps Alireza could try?
Pawn to d6 is the best move, but in terms of winning with black, I'm not so sure. Equalizing is normally the goal in chess with black, but not enough this time. b6, he just wants to fianchetto his bishop. Magnus might be forced to attack if Firouzja doesn't play in the center. Magnus is going to go on the front foot, but maybe that's not what he wants to do.
And for white, one of the very key ideas is to go d4 in these positions. You want to get that center control, get the bishop out to c4, try attacking the knight as well. But Magnus, he takes a pause, so definitely b6, a surprise.
So, Magnus Carlsen down on the clock. Okay, not by much, but it's so rare in this grand final, we might as well mention it when it happens. Alireza Firouzja, though, not looking just for an equal position. We need to win, remember. Pawn takes pawn in the center of the board. Firouzja looking like he wants to hopefully start building a little bit of clock advantage. Recaptures with the knight. And finally, Firouzja goes down to below 9 minutes. Still very, very early on in this game.
Still just move 6, and both players definitely freestyling. Neither side has studied this one before, we can guarantee that. Knight takes pawn on d4. Normally you want a queen there, but Magnus senses the white knight will be very active. The white queen could jump out early in this scenario, and Firouzja needs to just trust himself. Make moves at this point. The bishop comes out quickly. I like the way he's handled this opening. I've got to say, Alireza, I think he'll get it some chances at some point. The black knight kicked back meanwhile, and the game goes on.
It does go on, and this rivalry goes on. You know, I'm thinking right now of back in 2021 when Magnus Carlsen shocked the world, moved away from the World Championship crown, walked away from it, but said that he would be willing to fight if it was Alireza Firouzja who would challenge him, who would go on to win and then challenge him. That would make Magnus interested in getting back to the World Championship. That's the kind of respect he had. That's the kind of challenge he wanted to relish against the prince, Alireza Firouzja. And we never got that classical World Championship match. But we're getting the matchup here at the biggest global esports stage, at the esports arena. The king versus the prince, but so far, it's been a Magnus Carlsen show.
Do you think maybe that that actually plays on Firouzja's mind as well, knowing that Carlsen has said that about you? It's very difficult not to let that affect you psychologically, going, ooh, this is the match that he said he'd be happy to play. I really need to not disappoint. I need to go in with a bang. I need to really prove myself. And so far, we've seen flashes of that brilliance that does enable him to compete with Carlsen at the highest level. That said, he hasn't been able to consistently show that throughout this grand final, at least not so far.
Yeah, there's two ways you can take compliments from the world's best ever player. You can say, oh, thank you, I'm going to prove you right. Or you feel the pressure, you feel the expectation. And I mean, instinct-wise, we've seen it so many times. Firouzja digs himself out of trouble on the clock. That's because his instincts are just fantastic. And there we see Team Liquid and the fans looking happy right now. But yeah, Firouzja just hasn't been trusting himself. He needs to go for it now. Pawn to h4, not liked by the computer, I should mention. Magnus Carlsen wants to win this one in style. He's trying to punish black for not finishing development, not castling yet. But the white e-pawn, a bit weak. I'm liking Firouzja's chances here if he can strike somehow in the center.
This move just makes me feel like Magnus wants to have fun in this game. There's absolutely no reason for him to go for this. You know, you play the Alapin, it signals that you want to keep things under control. Then you push the H-pawn voluntarily instead of continuing with getting development and getting your king to safety. Magnus Carlsen is in for a fight, but that is exactly what might give Firouzja his chance.
Yeah, and remember Magnus, when he was close to knocking down Hikaru in the final game of their match, at least the final of the sixth yesterday, he got nervous. He did blunder.
Yep.
It is possible. He's human. So Firouzja cannot kind of give up hope at any point yet.
Very easy to forget sometimes that our champions, our heroes, the GOATs, are human as well. And, you know, at some point, the torch will pass from Magnus Carlsen to the younger generation. He's here to say, yes, it will happen, just not today.
If Alireza wins this game and makes the comeback into the match to force an Armageddon, that will be a huge momentum shift. I'd go on to say that he'd be a favorite in that Armageddon. You know, given his speed skills, especially when you're down to 30 seconds, that is his best hope right now. And I think the way Magnus is playing, pushing his pawns, delaying his development, this is going to be a feisty game.
I'm going to call it. I think this is going to get crazy. I don't know the result, of course. Difficult to make any predictions here, but I feel that Firouzja is going to get some chances in this one. Already some tactics in the air. The most obvious move would be to push a pawn forward, break open the black bishop, but maybe we could investigate a bit further because Alireza Firouzja has what could be a golden opportunity to shock Magnus Carlsen right now. Not only can he open up that bishop, he can do it forcefully and in style. Knight takes pawn. If the white bishop takes back, then the black bishop takes on f3, removing the defender, hitting the white queen, and when the white queen recaptures, when the dust settles, bishop takes bishop, black has won a pawn with a nice pin to boot. If we go back, after knight takes e5, if the white knight recaptures, then black just says, calm, d6, open the diagonal for my bishop, please, and look at the white knights, look at the black bishop. It's sniping, it's going to regain the material with interest. This is super complicated. White can even give a check at the end of this with his queen. The game goes on, but Firouzja, he has to take risks like this. He has to gamble.
But this is the one moment I'm glad that he's paused and spending time, because this is a critical decision. And it'll all be worth it. All those minutes spent will be worth it if he plays knight takes pawn. That's a huge advantage. You go up a pawn, your bishop becomes a big piece here.
And of course, we have the aid of the eval bar here. We have the aid of some very powerful engines, but Alireza Firouzja, he has the aid of his fantastic instincts. He's paused for a reason. Magnus Carlsen will be jumping out of his chair if he sees the move knight takes e5. He's got to play it. He's got to find it.
Has to be played, right? Especially if you spend so much time and energy calculating this out. I feel like it should happen on the board.
But do you think if Magnus has spotted it, he'll give it away? Because he's also the kind of player who just keeps that poker face until his opponent has made his decision. The more Alireza thinks, I think the higher chances that he spots it.
Who's going to spot it? Let's take a look at Alireza's screen, perhaps. It looks like he was about to push his pawn forward to d6. He does miss the opportunity. It was complicated. It was difficult. It was so hard to evaluate, but he could have played that move so much quicker. Now the black king castles. Status quo has been maintained. Magnus is holding this together with a pin.
But here's the thing, right? Because if Alireza did not go for knight takes pawn and wanted to make the move d6, again, you make it in 20 seconds. Right. But if you take your time, then you find that central blow.
Yeah, I don't blame him at all for missing that. I think superhuman almost, that tactic. But what he's played, the fact that it took him over 2 minutes to play d6.
That's the problem.
That's
That's the issue.
So now 7 minutes plays under 4. Unfortunately, familiar territory here in what potentially could be the last game. Remember, if Magnus Carlsen wins this game, he does not only win the set, he wins the match. So Firouzja needs to win, needs to find a way to crack open the position and take this victory from Magnus Carlsen to force an Armageddon.
Well, there was tension at the center of the board, and what Alireza has done is he slides his rook, defends the bishop, and now can go on to win a pawn. That e5 pawn, now that the bishop on b7 is guarded, knight takes e5. Alireza again, and he does it, but he takes it with his own pawn first, doubling up on the e file.
That's very surprising. He could have done the same thing, but in a more forceful way. if black had taken with the knight, white would have been forced into a variation that could have happened anyway. He basically gave Magnus more choice. And although the position's still now level in the balance, black with the bishop pair, Magnus might be breathing a sigh of relief. He has control over the diagonals for now, although still a harder position to handle. I think easier to play for black, I'm going to say, because white's queenside pawns are slightly overextended, are slightly loose. And of course, we've been talking about bishops today. Alireza with that up his sleeve.
In an open game, right? And both bishops on the longest diagonal of the board. And guess what? The knight joining the party as well jumps onto that central d4 square. I wonder if Magnus will do the same. Go knight d5. There are tactics in the air. He might want to trade pieces off. But it looks like that might work in Magnus's favor if you jump with that knight to the d5 square, given the tension along the c line.
Oh, that's a good way to trade pieces. Get Magnus closer to the draw that he needs.
It's also frustrating that the queen can't just sidestep for Firouzja to c7 because of the ominous presence of white's dark square bishop, effectively meaning the queen stays on the d-line longer, increasing the probability that the queens come off at some point soon. We're trying our best to figure out a way to keep everything on, to keep the tension, to keep the complications, but I think black is struggling to do that here. And again, opportunity to trade queens, and this time it's Magnus that says no, maybe playing on the clock pressure here as it goes to 6 versus 3.
Exactly, Magnus has sped up again. Not for the first time, he's barely spent over 30 seconds for a single move in this game, and look at this, pawn to e6, the first blunder of this game, the first mistake. The white rooks are going to hit the black queen. It could be over now. The black queen has no good squares. Wherever you go, there's a double attack or a fork. Magnus now looking at the fans, smiling. He knows he's close. He knows he's about to get it. Team Liquid on the edges of their seats.
He knows this is over. The knight about to jump in with a big fork in the position, going material up. Firouzja will fight. He will try to play this on, but I'm not even sure for how long. This is completely busted for black. Magnus Carlsen vibing there.
There we go, knight for rook. Magnus has extra material. He's the exchange up. He's getting close now. The white rooks are coming in. The white c-pawn sprinting forward. Firouzja has minimal counterplay. The white queen holds everything. Is this the final few moves of the Esports World Cup 2025? The black bishop trying to stem the tide, but it's desperate now.
Desperation on Firouzja. Magnus there, he wants to put the finishing touches as quickly as possible, but the whole show, the whole match by Magnus has been dominant so far.
This is absolutely incredible. Alireza Firouzja in a must-win situation. Magnus Carlsen had no business being this aggressive, gunning for this victory, but he only knows one mode. He truly has the heart of a champion, and he is displaying that here, saying, yes, I get that a draw is good enough, but here, watch what I can do.
Well, here at the Esports World Cup, he knows only one mode. That is that when liquid flows, it drowns everything.
Absolutely incredible stuff. Imperious from Magnus Carlsen, but it's not over yet. 5v2, material advantage. All the chips are stacked in his favor. Blunders can still happen. It is never over until it's over. He has to earn that full point.
Everything is earned here. Magnus Carlsen looking up. He's in calculation mode, trying to figure out if he can force it here and now. But there must be a little bit of a ghost in his mind. There was a blunder in game 1 of this second set when he had a winning position, up on time, up on the board. So Magnus, that's why he's double-checking everything. That's why he's slowed down slightly. The longer this game goes on, the more hope for Firouzja. It's just a challenge, staying alive.
Remember, you make your own luck. You need to try and find a way to tempt Magnus into that mistake. Those mistakes do happen, but Firouzja needs to make it happen on command. Queens off the board, and victory looking that much more remote.
And Magnus needs only a draw to win the match. He doesn't even need to win this game. He's completely winning.
And look at this, the c-pawn now forcing its way through. We're going to see the final move of the tournament.
Magnus Carlsen takes the victory. He wins game, set, and match against Team Falcons. Alireza Firouzja, Team Liquid will take home the 1,000 points for chess at the Esports World Cup. The GOAT reigns supreme, world #1, and now your Esports World Cup champion, Magnus Carlsen.
Incredible stuff. What a performance by Magnus in the semi-finals, taking down Hikaru Nakamura in an epic battle. Comes in today, completely steals the show. You know, they say chess is a simple game. Two players play, Magnus Carlsen wins. This was absolute domination, and Team Liquid rises to the top, and the king stays on the top.
Fans on their feet, incredible scenes in that arena. Quick action replay here of the final few moves, but ultimately Magnus had done the hard work. He won the exchange, he was already up in the match, he forced the queens off, later managed to push his pawn, and game over. Firouzja, unfortunately, helpless.
Incredible stuff. I mean, start from finish, right? You think about set one, just everything he did, how he converted this, needing only a draw in this position. But you know what? He's just too good. He wins, goes on to win this game, a 3-1 victory in set two. What a performance. Just brilliant stuff by Magnus, taking down the world number 2. And finally, the firebrand, Alireza Firouzja.
Yep, incredible scenes. Magnus looking fantastically happy as well in those graphics. There we see him with a smile as the final key is given to him. It's about to fall prey to the world number 1.
There we go. The Keymaster hands the winning key to put into the trophy, which now belongs to world number 1 and now Esports World Cup champion. An absolutely incredible achievement for Magnus Carlsen.
Ladies and gentlemen, the best player the world has ever seen. Team Liquid's Magnus Carlsen!